Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another The Path to a New Edition. Because it's that time of the month again, when Wizard of the Coast has blessed us with a new playtest package. This time it's Player's Handbook Playtest 8. And to get it out of the way, in my opinion up front, this is a bit of a disappointment. Playtest Package 7 introduced the Bastion system, which was introducing ideas for what players could do with the riches and power that they're accumulating as they get to higher levels. A big problem with Dungeons & Dragons these days, and ideas which have been missing since about 2nd edition. They really haven't given you things to do at those higher levels. Fantastic addition to the system, absolutely brilliant ideas. And now we're back to just messing around with player character classes. They're just meddling around with things where the previous surveys they put out haven't shown things to be completely popular. They're messing around a little and seeing what they can improve. Now, a couple other things I'd like to deal with before I get to it. First of all, DnD TV. I was thinking about doing a video on this, but I cannot locate it. I don't know whether it's not released in the United Kingdom, where I'm obviously located, but I can get access to it. I go on Plex and I go on Free TV, which supposedly support these things, and is nowhere to be seen. There is no sources for these shows according to Plex, and you just can't find it at all on Free TV. So I don't know whether they're not releasing it to people. I might have to search out for pirated versions to watch it. It's stupid and it's really hard to find. Why didn't they just put it up on their YouTube channel? They've got a lot of subscribers on there that have made money, especially putting people. They've got Seth Green and Matthew Lillard involved in one of their shows. You know, people would watch that. Why didn't they do that? The second point, these playtest packages are continuing, and we're getting close to 2024. I'm recording this on the 1st of December. So we've not long to go until these are finalised, and we're going to be getting these rolled out to rulebooks. And I think they've been lying to us. One of the big things that they say in every video is how this is to be compatible with the rulebooks which came out in 2012, was it? 2013? A decade ago. And they're not telling the truth, because they have a big problem here, and it's a big problem with Dungeons & Dragons especially, but every role-playing game. Power creep. As an edition of a game carries on, you tend to power things up so people will buy the books. If we look back at 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons, the complete handbooks they brought out. So one of the first ones was the Complete Book of Fighters. And everybody who bought the Complete Book of Fighters and applied it to their character was a little more powerful than people who were just playing from the Player's Handbook. And as the books went on, you got the Complete Book of Dwarves, the Complete Book of Elves. Well, people who are using elves from that, using the kits that were available from the Complete Book of Elves, were more powerful than people from the Complete Book of Fighters. There were always reasons to buy the latest book, because it would power your character up if you were using it. And that's what this feels like. I don't think you could run this playtest package has Barbarians, Druids and Monks in it. I don't think you could run the version of Druids from this next to a Druid from the original handbook without this one being far more powerful. There's a reason for getting these books, and it's going to be power. And that's what they're trying for, even if it's not a design philosophy that they are consciously going for. That's what they're doing. They're giving people a reason for liking these books because it's making their characters more powerful. And that doesn't make it compatible. That leads to problems. Now, while I love 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons, it was a mess by the end. When you'd got all the complete books, and you got all the kits out of that, and then you had skills and powers, and all these books adding more abilities on. Characters became completely different in play later on than they were originally. The concepts totally changed, because they were gaining brand new abilities, which weren't available to people who were just playing from the Player's Handbook. So I think they're making a mess of Dungeons & Dragons. But anyway, this playtest package, I've been wittering on for ages already, and I haven't even looked. So as I said, this one contains refined versions of the Barbarians. Now they've messed around with this a little bit. they are going more heavily into the subclass, the Path of the World tree, which they felt, I think, was a bit too magical, and they've tried to bring it back to being a barbarian. But to me, it's still quite magical, but it is getting parts there. We've got Vitality of the Tree, where the World Tree is giving them strength. That seems like a barbarian thing. Where before you had so many abilities, like you could reach out with the roots of the World Tree to drag enemies back to you. That feels like a spell-like ability, which doesn't feel very barbarian. It feels like they're getting away from it. But you still have those. Battering roots, travel along the tree. Druids, again, they're messing around slightly, especially with the wild shape. Whereas wild shape in the player's handbook, the old one, is broken. Because basically you're giving druids a second set of hit points. Every time they wild shape, they become a bear, for example. And it's not until they get killed as a bear they return to being a fully healed druid. Whereas they've changed this so now you keep the same hit points. But they're messing around again. They've included some extra things for the subclass, the Circle of the Moon Druid, where they can improve their wild shape. And they will gain extra abilities. So what do we got here? Their forms, their armor class equals 13 plus your wisdom modifier until you leave the form. So not only are you becoming a bear, but you're becoming a better bear than not a normal one. You're harder to hit. Your temporary hit points, you're gaining 3 times your druid level. So for the Circle of the Moon, they're becoming a better version. Not just gaining hit points when they change, but they're adding to their hit points. So they're gaining some of the old wild shape stuff back. I don't like that. I like them fixing it. They're kind of stepping back here because obviously it wasn't very popular with druid players. I know my son plays a druid and he wasn't happy with it at all. And we've got monks, where they're again just changing things around a bit to balance it out compared to the new versions of the classes. I'm not impressed with anything they've put in here. It's all right, but there's nothing that I'm like, oh, I really like this version of the monk over the old version. Although apparently lots of people had problems with the old version of the monk. I didn't. I played one. I really enjoyed it. And then we've got some versions of spells. One of the big things here is that they are going to incorporate a lot of the spells from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, I think the book's called, especially about summoning up spirits. So they're changing the spells from the original book to differentiate them, to make these very different in their operation. So we've got new versions of Conjure Elemental, Conjure Fey, Conjure Minor Elemental, Conjure Woodland Beings. They've also included Power Word Fortify, a new spell, which gives up to 6 creatures 120 hit points split between them. But to be honest, I see that getting hammered into the frontline fighter when you're going up against the big bad. Here, have an extra 120 hit points on top of your ordinary ones. Go beat them up. Although I suppose 20 hit points each isn't terrible at high levels, because this is a level 7 spell. It's a hit or less. We've got some feats. The weapon tables have been revised slightly to add new properties and play around with the masteries, but they're very much similar, so weapon mastery is still very much part of this. Got some equipment here. And then the updated rules, which don't include anything new. I've been very disappointed by what they've actually been doing with the core rules since the first couple of playtest packages, where they were doing something interesting, especially trying to get inspiration to be a part of the game rather than just a resource you hang on to. Because that's what we all do in our Dungeons & Dragons games. We get a potion and we hang on to it for months. It's still on our character sheet when the character leaves play, even though we've had plenty of chances to use it. We just hoard these things. And inspiration's kind of like that. You get an inspiration and you hoard it until you really, really need it. And quite often you never really, really need it. Whereas they were trying to get it, so you would get it, you would spend it, you would get more, you would spend more, to make it more of play. And I like that, but they've just gone back to the original version. As I said, there's nothing much in here. They're just tinkering around with things a bit. responding to the survey results they've had, there's nothing special at all in it. Not a very exciting one. I guess we've got a couple more to come out before the final versions of the rules come out. So we will see if there's anything more. But I'm guessing we're just going to get every class getting a final revised version so they can get some feedback on that before they go into publishing. But anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough. So thank you very much for watching as always. But most of all, you look after yourselves and I'll catch you later. Bye now.